Want to give a big shout out to Brian Miller, one of the newest members of the 8-Bit Heroes family. Big shouts out to you.
So if you'd like to be shouted out on our next video, then you know what to do. Hit that like button, share the video out to some people, and do us the biggest honor of all and hit that subscribe button. That being said, on to the video.
Now that I'm wearing your body parts, miss the way that you used to bleed. Yeah.
Wait, you damn hillbilly. Enough of that backwoods bullshit.
With the 2018 Halloween sequel and its subsequent sequel, and the Scream sequel, we were sure to get more horror sequels that nobody asked for, and now we are up to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the sequel to the original 1970s Texas Chainsaw Massacre, skipping over most of the subsequent sequels in the series. And I don't know what I just watched. So, in the same vein as the 2018 Halloween sequel, what we get here is a revenge / horror tale centered around a young group of young adults who are in a situation not of their own making, and a septuagenarian woman who is seeking revenge even though she's past her prime. So let's get into it. So the movie starts out with Melody, Lila, Ruth, and Dante, some of the most hipster, punchable-faced young people I have ever seen in a film. And their mission here is to gentrify the mostly abandoned town of Harlow, Texas. And before we really get into this review, let me just say that the message is strong with this movie. Oh God, this movie is more woke than an insomniac with narcolepsy, and about as subtle as getting hit by a subway train, filled to the brim with woke, propaganda-filled messaging with topics such as anti-2A messaging, anti-gun messaging, school shootings, racism, and gentrification, not to mention the unholy demon of capitalism. There is so much messaging and propaganda in this movie. It is hard to enjoy the horror of it. The horror of it is the script. That is the scariest part of this foolish attempt at messaging. Oh my God, Netflix. Everything good that I've said about your recent outings, you must have saved all the wokeness just to put in this piece of trash. I'm telling you. Oh my God. So what we have here is the group of punchable face young people with attitude who are basically trying to auction off pieces of this ghost town centered around a restaurant that Dante, who's apparently a chef, is supposed to be making. Oh, and did I mention that in the beginning, you also get the anti-law enforcement racist messaging as well? But whatever. So, going through this, what ends up happening is that there is an incident involving an old woman in one of the buildings who is presumed to be a squatter who had been evicted from the property. But what ends up happening is that this woman, apparently, who ran an orphanage forever and has a Confederate flag on her building because she's some sort of racist, is also harboring the original Leatherface. And because of this, her heart just can't take it, gives out, and Leatherface begins his killing spree yet again. Now, oh my God, this is just the logic that goes into these huge leaps. It just doesn't work. I mean, it's literally just nonsense upon nonsense upon nonsense. So basically, after giving all of the characters various lectures, the killing can begin. Of course, it starts with the police. They have to be murdered in a very brutal way, despite them having firearms and Leatherface not having any firearms, which is a consistent theme throughout the movie. Everybody with a gun who touches a gun is destined to get killed, basically. Like, and the guns never work, like none of them. Like, they have the most unreliable firearms in the history of movies that I've ever seen. Not to mention that you just have characters that it's hard to root for them because they're just stupid. Like, the only character that you can honestly root for is really Lila, and that's because, you know, they frame her as the victim of or actually the survivor of a school shooting. And so she has this weird phobia and PTSD around guns, which is understandable given the character's backstory. But the rest of the characters are just terrible people. From Dante to Lila's sister. The only really character that doesn't seem terrible is Dante's fiance. And, you know, she's kind of the first to go. This one, oh God, is just bad. So essentially, there's supposed to be a tour bus full of possible investors to participate in an auction for these properties. And, you know, which basically just gives an excuse for Leatherface to have a whole bunch of, you know, people to kill. And so the story just kind of goes on. Now, the kills, I will admit, some of these kills are really cool. They're very gruesome, but it's the nonsensical story takes me out of the situation, like, entirely. Like, it just completely rips you out of the movie. That's how bad the dialogue and the story is in this movie. So at some point, they are able to get word to the original survivor of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, who just so happens to now be a retired U.S. Marshal. And, you know, basically, now it's time for Anita Walker, Texas Ranger, to exact her revenge. And she's awful too. Like, you would think that she'd be ready to handle business Laurie Strode style, but instead, she wants a mostly mute serial killer to remember her friends and say her name and all of this other. You ain't Destiny's Child, chick. Like, what is wrong with you? Ain't nobody saying your name. Put a bullet in this fool and keep it moving. But she is literally incapable of doing that. And so more and more people die, more bodies are racked up. This moral ambiguity of using young people as bait so that you can get your revenge is just played out. And so the movie just kind of goes on until it ends. And when I say that these young people are terrible, like they frame them in such a hipster, you know, big city kind of way, to the point where they have a self-driving Tesla. It's so bad. But, you know, honestly, this is an hour and a half that I am never going to get back. And I understand why Legendary dumped this on Netflix, because this would have never gone in a theater. This would have been a gigantic turd in the theater. So I guess streaming was the best option for it. If I have to put a big number on this, I give this movie a 5 out of 10, and that is being generous. You guys let me know what you think about this in the comments section, but I'm going to go see if I can watch something else. Maybe the Jessica Biel Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, because that was actually good. I'm going to see you on the next one, y'all. 8-Bit Heroes out. Peace.